we often don't sit back and reflect on okay, what exactly went wrong? Did I do some things right? What can be done to improve over here? And that sort of reflection is necessary when you want to improve in mains. Have you considered broad enough dimensions? Because if you're writing 2 points in a 10-mark answer, you are not getting marks. That they need people who can think about a problem from multiple dimensions and angles rather than somebody who's done a PhD on one particular topic. Because as an IAS officer, you will be posted everywhere. Writing मेरी छोटी छोटी है तो मैंने पेज भर दिए, 3 पेज भरने थे, I've written a lot more. You will not complete the paper. You may know a lot more, but you have to develop an economy of words. You have to learn to say more things in fewer words. Hello everyone, Namaskar. So in today's video, we're going to discuss how do you self-evaluate an answer? Because this is a question that I genuinely ask a lot of people, that what do you do after you write an answer? And most of the time, the answer that I get is that I move on to the next answer because, you're writing multiple answers, so naturally it makes sense. But we often don't sit back and reflect on, okay, what exactly went wrong? Did I do some things right? What can be done to improve over here? And that sort of reflection is necessary when you want to improve in maths. We will be talking about how to self-evaluate your answers, but please keep in mind that there are limitations to self-evaluation because we always look at our own writing much more favorably than we look at anybody else's. Think of it as when you have a problem, you feel it is the most important problem in the world and then your problem is unique. But when your friend has a very similar problem, you feel that they're not doing the solution is right in front of them. Why aren't they doing it? So that sort of bias will always exist whenever you are self-evaluating. But beyond that, there are some simple steps that you can follow in order to improve the outcomes of your self-evaluation. When I started with my mains preparation in 2016, almost 10 years ago, so I was writing answers sort of like this. I'll show you. I was writing answers just like this. I wasn't using any of the standard UPSC format notebooks or anything. पूरा page ऐसे भर रहा था मैं. Not a lot of evaluation, just a lot of effort. Okay, I want to write, so therefore I am writing. Over time, what I realized is that I'm doing a lot of work, but it's not getting me anywhere. Why? Because I don't need to write a single page. I have to think about multiple things. I have to think about how am I filling space? How am I making diagrams? I need to think about, okay, how am I adding some value with data, with facts and all of these things. But अब ऐसा तो नहीं है, मेहनत नहीं कर रहा था, ऐसी 4-5 कॉपियां मैंने भर दी थी तो मुझे लगता था कि भाई I've done a lot of work, I should get through. I missed the mains cutoff by more than 100 marks that year. I learned from the mistakes. I came back next year, cleared in 2017. But then, obviously, I had radically changed how I approached the exam. In this, you will, मतलब जो notebook I have shown you, you'll see बहुत छोटी छोटी writing मैंने लिखा. Any further test copies that I have ever written, answer का script got bigger, things were a lot more clearer. And what was the point? The point was simple, that you need to write in order to get the most marks. For that, you need to do a number of things. What are those number of things? Let's talk about. Self-evaluation में सबसे पहले you need to read your own answer as if you have never seen it before, which is basically the idea that you don't want to bring in the context that you took while writing. A lot of the times people have this problem कि there were a lot of things in my head when I wrote that particular line. So if I read it immediately after writing, I will still have those contextual things in my head and I will feel that yes, this line is appropriate. Therefore, self-evaluation and there should be a gap between writing and self-evaluation. This gap, at least 1 or 2 days should be there. Why? Because in this gap, you will forget some of the context. You will have done 10 different things. And therefore, now if I come and read my writing, it will be like, okay, this is something fresh and new. And maybe you will have forgotten ki bhai kya cheez thi. And now I can look at it as, does this line by itself, without the context that existed in my head while I was writing, does this line make sense by itself? Because if it does not a great answer. Second thing, You want to look at it as if you are in a hurry. Jaldi jaldi. When we are evaluating our own answers, we tend to be very lenient. We give ourselves the benefit of the doubts. None of the things which the examiner is willing to do for you. The examiner is getting paid by copy. So they are incentivized to check as many copies as they can, as quickly as they can. They don't really care about you. They don't know you. And they are not interested in giving you marks, because sometimes it's also an ego fight with these examiners कि भाई ये बनेगा IAS, मैं बताता हूँ इसको, right? So that sort of a thing also exists. You may like it or you may not like it, but it's human nature, right? So if you do these two things, check, self-evaluate after a gap, and second, do it as if you're in a hurry. Does the thing that you have written make sense at first glance? This is a very high level sense check of whether you have written an appropriate answer. Now, there are some basic checkpoints about demand and time we want to focus on while we are self-evaluating. Demand के जो checkpoints हैं, उसमें further there are a couple of things that I want you to pay attention to. Right? There's the scan test, there's dimension check, there's the subject specific check. Now, whenever demand check हम कर रहे हैं, we will do these things. The time test is pretty much straightforward. That whether I have written a 10 marker in 7 minutes and 15 marker in 11 minutes. Now, we'll discuss this in a little more detail when we come to it. But the idea is, if you are giving mains this year, 2026, these are your limitations. If you're not giving mains this year, don't worry about that so much right now. Now, सबसे पहली चीज बात करते हैं about the demand check. Now, demand check क्या है? Read this question. The Attorney General of India plays a crucial role in guiding the legal framework of the Union government and ensuring sound governance through legal counsel. Discuss his responsibilities, rights, and limitations in this regard. Now, if I ask you at this moment, how many parts are there to this answer? What are the things that you need to address? Most people that I have asked this tell me that there are 3 parts, right? You need to talk about Attorney General ka responsibilities, rights, and limitations. But when they do this, they miss out something very critical, which is in this regard. Meaning, I also have to qualify this statement. Do you agree with this? Do you not agree with this? You don't have to write a lot, but you should address this statement also. So effectively, there are 4 parts to this answer. Right, the first part is I'm writing one line about this statement, and then I'm going into responsibilities, rights, and limitations. Now, you can make the argument that, okay, I will be addressing this statement in all of these individual parts, but yes, you have to be aware of the fact that this statement needs to guide your answer. If it is not guiding, so then somewhere or the other, there will be the, feedback that you will get that you have not addressed the core demand of the question. So one of the ways to address the core demand is that you write a line of that upfront, then you talk about these 3 things. Or you take this context and put it in these 3 things. Both of them work, but you have to be aware that there are 4 parts. If you're missing one of those 4 parts, your answer is incomplete. You will not be getting the maximum marks possible, which is generally 5 out of 10. Maximum marks does not mean full marks. Maximum marks is generally 5 out of 10 when it comes to civil services exam, 10-mark questions. So, whenever you're self-evaluating, a couple of things that you want to do is just a simple scan. 60-second mein, I want you to just flip the question paper, right? What are you looking at? Ki introduction. Is there a clear, simple introduction? Clear, simple, gets the point across. I don't want just a word salad. What is a word salad? Ki in this question, I am saying Attorney General is a very, very important office in the government of India and is a very, very responsible individual who is held in high esteem. I've written something, but it doesn't mean anything. So instead, if I have an introduction which is talking about, okay, Attorney General of India, is mentioned under Article 148 of the Constitution of India. A lot more direct, a lot more simple, but also is getting the point across. So is your introduction in that manner clear and simple, or is it a word salad? Because if it is a word salad, you don't get that benefit of the doubt. इंट्रोडक्शन का काम यहाँ पे क्या है? द सिंपल वर्क दैट इंट्रोडक्शन डज इज इट पुट्स द एग्जामिनर इन अ फेवरेबल स्टेट ऑफ माइंड कि भाई ओके व्हाट इज दिस पर्सन डूइंग, this person knows whatever they are talking about because they have mentioned some very important things right at the start. So 60 seconds mein I'm just looking at the intro, I'm just looking at the subheadings. Now if in my answer, right, क्या किया है, I have 2 pages, right, yahan pe I put the intro and then the 3 sections that we had. First, responsibilities, first section. Second section, rights, limitations. If I have 3 subheadings right like this, does it not give a general sense कि भी यार इस बंदे ने ना all parts को address किया है, या इस लड़की ने they've addressed all parts. Obviously it's difficult to tell whether somebody is a male or female by writing usually, but that's the idea कि if you give me subheadings which are related to the points of the question, it makes it easier for the examiner to give you more marks. In 60 seconds, if I see a clear introduction, I see the 3 subheadings that are required by that question, and then I see कि भी अच्छा, I will read just the first line of each section. Is it a relevant point? Are you talking about the right things when it comes to responsibility, when you're coming to rights and limitations? Is the most important point mentioned first? You can write 5 points on each heading, great, but there are, hierarchies. There are very important points and then there are general points ki हाँ मतलब attorney general is the legal advisor to government of India. Okay, sure, but what is the responsibility? कि भाई attorney general is the filter through which the government checks कि भाई is this legislation even legally tenable, right? That should be something that should come up first. उसके बाद फिर और 10 चीज you want to write, you keep writing, but the most important point should come first. In 60 seconds, I saw the subheading, I read the first line, seems relevant, great, my impression gets even better. Finally, is there a conclusion? Have you written something extra कि भाई ये तो चीजें बेसिक आपको क्वेश्चन में गिवन थी, बट नाउ सिंस इट इज अ कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम, have you written a way forward, or have you given me some quotation, or have you mentioned something extra at the end? Because right after I read this, I'm going to give you marks, right? Out of 10, I'm going to give you XYZ marks. So if right before I give you marks, you give me that one small thing extra, so it gives that favorable impression in the mind of the examiner. So this is your 60-second test. Whenever you're self-evaluating, look at the intro, look at the subheadings, read the first line, see if there's a conclusion. If you are passing all of these, generally you will score well, right? Now coming to the next, dimensions. Now dimensions में अगर कुछ नहीं आ रहा तो then there is obviously pestle, right? Political, economic, social, environmental, technological, legal. There can be other such acronyms that you can build for yourself. Like for example, there is an acronym called MEDICS, right? Military, economic, diplomatic, ideological, cultural, strategic. MEDICS is a great framework for IR. IR may, whenever you have to check out okay, bilateral relations between these countries, groupings, XYZ. So if you write about these dimensions, a lot of the times you will be fine. Similarly, if we are talking about disaster management, so one of the ways in which you can check dimensions is before, during, and after, right? Before disaster, what am I doing? I'm working on preparedness. During disaster, I'm working on disaster response. After, I'm working on building back better. And जब मैंने ये 3 चीजें बोल दी, तो there is one more fourth. I add that and I put Sendai framework in the conclusion. So that's the idea. That's the next thing that you want to check when you're self-evaluating. Have you considered broad enough dimensions? Because if you're writing 2 points in a 10-mark answer, you are not getting marks. Competitive exam hai, the best of the lot, people like Ayan Jain who secure 470, 480 marks in general studies, they're writing 15 points in a 10-mark answer. So to generate those 15 points, you need some ways to think about it. So these are some ways. We are also discussing some of these ways in the free sessions that we're doing in Mains Excel for people giving mains this year. So you can check that out also. We'll talk more about that later. But that's the idea. Okay, the next check that I want is how many dimensions have been covered, what is the breadth of topic that has been covered, because UPSC values breadth over depth when it comes to mains answer writing, for the simple reason that they need people who can think about a problem from multiple dimensions and angles rather than somebody who's done a PhD on one particular topic. Because as an IAS officer, you will be posted everywhere, right? You will be dealing with all sorts of problems. Even as an IPS, IRS officer, there will be a lot of variety. So you have to have a certain amount of breadth of information so that you can choose where you want to deep dive. Which brings us to the next relevant point कि भाई अब यहाँ पे अगर हम देखते हैं कि भाई how what are the sort of sections that we'll build. So how does nanotechnology offer significant advancements in the field of agriculture? How can this technology help to uplift socio-economic status of farmers? तो अब इसमें सबसे पहले तो what are the sections? First and foremost, in intro, I will define, what is nanotech. A much better, more relevant intro would be if I have an example of nanotech in agriculture and I can write that itself in the introduction, or if there was a scheme by the government of India, or if there was some pronouncement by union minister or anybody anywhere, nanotechnology, agriculture, what is happening? If I can write that in the intro, great. If I don't know that, if I can just define nanotechnology in the intro, that is also fine, right? Significant advancements in the field of agriculture. So my first section is clear. Section 1, nanotech advantages in agri. So this is my heading also. Why? Because this is clearly telling कि भाई हाँ, I have addressed the first part of the question. Right. Second section मेरा क्या होगा? How can this technology help to uplift the socio-economic status of farmers? Socio-eco status. सेक्शन 2 को ये भी लिख सकते हो, अपलिफ्टिंग सोशियो इकोनॉमिक स्टेटस भी लिख सकते हो, नैनोटेक एंड सोशियो इकोनॉमिक स्टेटस भी लिख सकते हो, जैसे लिखना लिखो, राइट? कोर आइडिया क्या है विद दीज टू सेक्शंस, विद नैनोटेक इन द इंट्रो, आई हैव एड्रेस्ड, अगर 60 सेकंड स्कैन में कर रहा हूं तो देन फाइनली वे फॉरवर्ड एंड देन मेरा 60 सेकंड स्कैन कंप्लीट है. I have given a intro relevant. I've written the two sections which were important over here and then way forward. Now, what is important is whenever I'm mentioning the socio-economic status and the impact of nanotechnology, so there will be a couple of important dimensions that need to be covered over here, right? Maybe how is nanotechnology helping with hunger? How is nanotechnology helping with poverty? How is nanotechnology helping with a lot of these other areas? So the more dimensions that I have, the better it will be. Why? Because please keep in mind, this is a 15-mark question. So one and a half page and then almost 2 pages of this part. ये आपका core part है. And core part में, the more dimensions I have, the broader my thinking is, the more socio-economic aspects I can attach, the better it will be. So that is what you have to keep in mind कि अब dimensions मेरे दोनों चीजों में आएंगे कि भाई एक तो nanotech and agriculture, but there may not be a lot of dimensions that you want to cover in that section. Socio-economic status पे जब भी मैं आता हूँ, so therefore I know a lot more dimensions which I can cover over here, right? And then way forward में कि भाई how are we looking at this in the future? You can talk about maybe some symposium that the government is organizing or something new that has happened, or how AI can also be embedded over here as control systems. So this is a forward looking statement which is also showing the examiner कि भैया अच्छा, question का limitation was nanotech and agriculture, but this person is also thinking about how nanotech is interfacing with AI now. Cyber physical systems, right? That's the idea. Nanotechnology क्या है? कहीं ना कहीं एक physical system है, right? So when you do those sorts of things, you get those extra marks. So dimensions मेरी कहाँ पे है? Socio-economic status में I will explore as many as I want, right? Which brings us to the final subject specific test. Now this is something that you also should do when you're writing your answers and evaluating them yourself. Like for example, GS1 में you get questions in geography. So have you drawn maps? That is something that you should definitely check, because if in a geography answer I see a map which is showing me ki okay, what is being talked about, some diagram if not a map, कि भाई ग्लेशियल लेक कैसा बनता है, या भाई लैंडस्लाइड कैसे होती है, या भाई सुनामी में मतलब okay chalo tsunami mein you might not be able to make some diagram. If you can, do let me know. Or Pacific ring of fire, there are so many things that you can draw maps and diagrams about in gs1 geography. Similarly, history mein I can make some timelines. So this is the subject specific test ki have you made an effort to give me information in a way that makes it easier for me to understand, because if you have, that sets your answer apart. The people who are getting the highest marks will be doing this. They'll be spending time thinking about कि कैसे मैं differentiate करूं. Art GS2 के लिए सबसे simple articles. कि भाई अगर अटॉर्नी जनरल का क्वेश्चन है, have you mentioned the relevant article? If there's a question on election commission, have you mentioned the relevant article? If there's a separation of powers पे question है GS2 में, have you mentioned the relevant Supreme Court judgments? Because there are a lot of judgments that cover the separation of powers. So then these are the things that you specifically need to do in GS2. अब वो judgments GS1 में शायद इतनी relevant ना हो, but वो maps GS2 में शायद इतने relevant ना हो. तो again, subject specific, there are things that need to be done. Similarly, in GS3, SDGs जो आपके हैं, they become a great help. Why? Because SDGs 17 SDGs के तहत बहुत सारी चीजें कवर हो जाती है, and if I can mention one or the other SDG, now this is something that you can do any paper में across. If there is a urbanization by question in GS1, mention the relevant SDG 11 in the conclusion, right? If there is something in GS2 related to hunger, mention the relevant SDG in the conclusion. One of the best ways to just write a conclusion which is seemingly adding more value even without adding value is कि भाई मैं SDG at least add करूं उधर, right? This is very important, because right after the conclusion the examiner is giving you marks. यहाँ पे SDGs भर के डालो, यहाँ पे डेटा डालो, यहाँ पे give me facts, give me schemes. यहाँ पे also internal security में there will always be maps, right? Internal security के अलावा disaster management में also you can give me some maps. Environment में you can give me some other kinds of diagrams. So there are a lot of different ways in order to deal with these sorts of things. GS4 में the most important thing that you can do, be it in a theory wala section, be it in a case study wala section, you can write in the introduction itself, tell me what the problem is or what exactly is being talked about. कि आपको कोई कोट दिया हुआ था बहुत लंबा चौड़ा आगे पीछे, but if you tell me that this is a quote about building trust in your team, so don't you think that gives the examiner कि भाई यार इसको आता है, and that is what I want. Anytime that I'm writing an answer, that 60 seconds can test kya hai, examiner does not have the frame of mind or the inclination to give you more marks. They don't care about you. They sometimes actively hate you. In such a case, you have to make the most favorable impression, and this is every different subject will carry some new tricks and tips कि भाई अच्छा यहाँ पे if I can give that a value right in the start कि भाई trust in the team, okay, this is a quote about responsibility, this is a quote about taking risks, or when talking about civil services में impartiality, practicality, XYZ, so this person displayed this. When you give me that sort of a hit right at the outset, it gives a very good impression, and then I'm willing to give you slightly more marks than the rest. यही चीज है, इसी का झगड़ा है सारा. आधा नंबर फालतू लेके आते हो. The entire fight in mains is to get a 0.5 extra mark. 0.5 एक्स्ट्रा के लिए झगड़ा है सारा, 0.5 के लिए, because 0.5 in one paper is 10 marks, right? Into 4 papers this becomes 40 marks. You add optional also over here, 60 marks. 60 number में you can be either IAS or you can be out of, like you may be at the end of the list. That is the difference. 60 marks is a lot, and 60 marks idhar se ban raha hai. So therefore, when you're self-evaluating also, you have to have that mindset of, okay, what exactly is the problem? What am I looking at here? Right? Because if you are not putting in that effort, so then somebody else is going to. Mains is a cutthroat competition. Obviously not as much as prelims because of the sheer number of people that are applying for prelims, but at the same time these people who are giving mains are much more prepared, so therefore the competition is still pretty intense. Now when you're writing 10 markers you have 7 minutes. अब ये 7 minutes और 11 minutes का फंडा क्या है? सिंपल सा, that I need to cover 250 marks in 180 minutes, right? तो 10 marks के लिए I have roughly 7 minutes, 15 marks के लिए I have roughly 11 minutes. That is what it is. If you are following this, most of the time you will be able to complete the paper. Now still, if speed is not the issue, sometimes there will be problems कि भी either I'm writing too much. Now this is one of the most frequent problems that I get, is that somebody knows an answer कि okay, this is an question that I'm very familiar with, so therefore what I will do कि 250 marks की बजाय I'm writing 350 marks. Writing मेरी छोटी छोटी है तो मैंने पेज भर दिए, 3 पेज भरने थे, I've written a lot more. You will not complete the paper. You may know a lot more, but you have to develop an economy of words. You have to learn to say more things in fewer words, and that is something that only comes with writing practice. More and more frequent writing practice that you do, you will learn how to do this. One of the best copies to check out this is Anudeep Durishetty, 2017 rank 1. Anudeep Durishetty ke alawa Shruti Sharma, great example over here. She'll give you more understanding in fewer words. That is the skill that I want to develop over time. Now either you're writing more words or you lack content fluency. What does content fluency mean? Simple idea kya hai, that when I'm writing the first point, I am now thinking about what to write as the second point. When I'm writing the second point, I'm thinking about the third point. By the fourth point, I'm tired and I want to move on. But अगर मैं dimensions cover कर रहा था, right, कि भाई मैंने दिमाग में रख लिया है that when it comes to IR questions, I'm going to do medics. I'm going to write a military dimension, economic dimension, diplomatic, ideological, cultural, strategic. Maybe I don't have points in some areas, but in other areas I will have points. So when I'm thinking in that manner, it's very easy for me to generate points, right? So that is the idea. So ये content fluency वाला जो चीज है, we are addressing through Mains Excel ka special sessions, which Rohit Singh, who is somebody who has cleared the civil services exam twice, was one of our past students, and was a student in both his mains and attempts where he cleared. He'll be taking live sessions on this where he'll be talking about कि भाई कैसे करना है. Now इसके अलावा ये वाले जो अपना subject specific checks हैं, these will also be discussed by Rupal Jaiswal, who is again one of the students associated with us in the past. Rupal also cleared civil services exam 2 times, and will be taking sessions about कि भाई हर subject के specific checks क्या होते हैं. All of these sessions are being conducted by us for free for people who are giving mains this year. You can also attend them if you want to give mains next year, you want to prep accordingly, but that's the idea. Now ये सब हो गया, ये अपन ने बेसिक कर लिया कि if I'm evaluating with the idea of I've written a general answer, I'm writing PYQs, or I'm writing some test series and I want to self-evaluate. Now there's also the idea of copycat evaluation, right? You want to become a copycat evaluator by doing what? I mentioned 2 people, Shruti Sharma and Anudeep Durishetty. You can have other people also over here, but these are 2 copies that I've seen personally. I've read a lot of them and they are great copies, so therefore act as great examples. Take up Shruti Sharma ka copy, take up Anudeep ka copy, write the answers to the questions that they have written to. Don't read their answers, just take the question and write that answer yourself. Then you become the copycat evaluator by comparing your answer with their answer. Now please keep in mind, it's very easy to get demotivated, so it's not something that I recommend on day 1. But if you are giving mains this year, this is something I would highly recommend, क्योंकि एक क्लियर एक्शनेबल पॉइंट आपको मिल जाता है कि भाई कहाँ तक काम करना है, क्या क्या चीजें मेरी लैक कर रही है. Am I lacking structure? Anudeep ka copies are looking much more cleaner. Shruti is giving a lot more examples. What am I missing? Do I not have the examples? So then you know कि भाई I need to collect examples. Am I not making the clear structure? So then you know कि you need a lot more writing का framework practice. तो copycat evaluation gives you a very clear idea of कि भाई अच्छा मेरे problems कहाँ हैं and मुझे कहाँ काम करना है, because I am comparing with some of the best. Don't get demotivated. You are not supposed to write like them on day one. This is the peak. Peak तक जाना है धीरे धीरे, step by step. So don't get demotivated. Just look at it as कि okay, these are the gaps in my knowledge, these are the gaps in my skills, and I need to fulfill them. Right. Now, at this point, I'll also give you the PYQ analysis sheet. I'll just share that with you. Now, this PYQ analysis sheet, this is a simple sheet. What we have done is we have taken the entire syllabus of mains, and you'll notice there are about 70 to 80 some topics, minor, 96 topics exactly, जो कि आपके main specific relevant हैं. All that you need to do is कि okay, I want to prepare for, let's say, कि policies, right? So I want to go to GS2, and यहाँ पे I will search for just 4 policies. And अब क्या हुआ यहाँ पे, that all the questions from 2013 onwards that have been asked related to policies are coming up over here, right? So that's the idea कि भाई sooner or later it becomes important that I also look at all the questions that have been asked. Ki, I want to prepare for Representation of People's Act. So then all questions, if I look at them at the same time, it gives me a very good idea of how to go about this. Right. So self-evaluation may also get a good sense of ki, when you look at the previous year questions, it also gives you some dimensions that you were not thinking about that need to be added to your notes. Right. Now, at this point some people feel ki bhai, okay, self evaluation ho gaya, but I also need some, buddy who with the skills, with the knowledge to check my answers. So this is where we offer the evaluation option to you also. All of the things that we discussed about are free of cost. Mains Excel may we are doing a lot of the sessions that I talked about. We'll also talk about that. But if you want the answers that you have written, ki bhai daily basis pe I'm writing 5 to 10 PYQs, 20 PYQs. If you are practicing that copycat evaluation wala technique and writing a lot of these answers and you want to get them evaluated also, so this is where we have the Write Unlimited course. This is a simple promise: unlimited answer writing evaluation. The idea is pretty simple. You write anything, we will evaluate it for you, and on a strict timeline. Right. Timeline यहाँ पे क्या रहेगा generally कि टाइमलाइन के बारे में बात करेंगे. ऑल आंसर्स विल बी इवैल्यूएटेड. ऑल जीएस का सब्जेक्ट्स आर कवर्ड. जीएस 1 2 3 4 and even essays. We will obviously not be doing this for optional के लिए. If you want कि we should bring out a Write Unlimited course for a specific optional, please do let us know in the comments so that we will also figure out कि अच्छा this is something that can be useful for people. Right. So this is primarily for GS questions. Any questions that you choose, be it PYQs, be it copycat evaluation, be it some test series somewhere, be it you are a member of our test series, you want to write that, do it. Write those answers, we'll evaluate that for you, even including essay, GS 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, coming to the session. So, Rupal Jaiswal, somebody who has cleared civil services exam twice in 2024 and 25, her first session is starting on the 22nd of June. She will be taking 9 sessions where she'll be breaking down each and every aspect of mains preparation. How do you go about particular subjects? What are the ways to add value in GS 1, 2, 3, and 4? How do you improve your essay? All of these things she'll be discussing. So you can check that out. This is part of the Mains Excel course. Mains Excel is free of cost. So please, that you can always join even if you don't want Write Unlimited and evaluation from us. Rohit Singh, who is also somebody who has cleared civil services exam twice. Both of these people have been past students, have been associated with us in the past. He will also be taking sessions on structure and presentation. What he will be doing is he'll be taking live sessions where he'll sit with you and you'll solve questions, you'll make a framework, and then he will tell you, Acha, how do you think about this? How could you have improved the structure over here? How could you have improved the presentation over here? What kind of diagrams you could have made over here? live practice with somebody who has cleared the exam twice with a great GS score each time. So this is also part of your mains Excel. And then you'll also have some mastermind sessions with Shashank sir. Now, Shashank sir is an expert in teaching you how to use your lived experiences in order to write answers. Because no matter how much you prepare, there are always questions that I don't know anything about in mains. And in such a case, I have lived life. I have seen things happening around me. I can use that experience in order to write something in my answer. Because in the end, you want to score 440 plus in mains, you really do need to write each and every answer. Sometimes when you don't know, how do you write? That is what Shashank sir discusses. We'll also be taking some, current affairs sessions by the UPSC Prep faculty where we'll be covering each and every relevant current affairs for mains. तो ये सारी चीजें जो हैं हमारी mains Excel में हो रही हैं. Evaluation, if you want on top of it, so that is part of Write Unlimited. And in this, you'll also get one-to-one mentorship. कि भाई personalized mentorship is built into each and every course at upscprep.com for the simple reason that जब तक आप इंडिविजुअल को अटेंशन नहीं दे रहे हो, समटाइम्स इट बिकम्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर पीपल टू इंप्रूव. 50 लोग के ग्रुप में अगर बोला जाए कि ये सही है ये नहीं है, श्योर देयर विल बी सम पीपल हु विल गेन आउट ऑफ इट, बट इट इज मच मोर लाइकली दैट यू विल गेन आउट ऑफ इट इफ द फीडबैक इज पर्सनलाइज्ड टू यू, राइट? सो इवैल्यूएशन का जो टाइम है, answers will be evaluated within 72 working hours. And if you are giving us a full length test, meaning you've written 20, so we'll be evaluating them within 7 working days. Right, so this is for Write Unlimited कि भाई आपको आंसर लिखने हैं, कोई भी लिखो. Usually this is 48 hours, but 72 hours का लिमिट है. 72 के बाद तो बिल्कुल नहीं जाएगा. 48 hours के अंदर अंदर बहुत बार हम आंसर्स आपके चेक करके दे देते हैं 90% of the time. But if you're writing a full length test, naturally we will require some more time also. And then beyond this, obviously, you discuss this with your mentor. Now, Write Unlimited is available in 3 variants, which is 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. So 3, 6, and 12 months का prices आपके ये हैं. You can check them out. If you're interested in joining, you can visit courses.upscprep.com. The idea of this is pretty simple. Mains की preparation बिना writing के नहीं होती है. I've given you steps on how you can evaluate your answers by yourself. That is a great place to get started. If you are, not preparing for 27, you're preparing for 28, 29, या मतलब कभी सोच रहे हो करने का, आंसर लिखना शुरू करो. Evaluate them by yourself if you want, but if you want us to evaluate them for you, Write Unlimited is the course. So that's all that I wanted to discuss in this video. All the best on your UPSC journey.